All right, so we join you today on Friday, July 17th for our World Cup episode 8, right before the finals. We just had the semifinals, France against Spain and Argentina against England. Both were, but both were exciting games for sure. We'll talk about those, and then we'll talk about the upcoming games. We'll briefly talk about the consolation match, even though that's not really nobody's really excited. I'm not even sure if I'm going to watch the game. I don't know, would they play all their subs during that game, or do they give? Yeah, we'll talk about all of that. I got Zico here, who's on his way to a tournament we have in Pueblo, Colorado. So he's driving and hopefully still able to pay attention to the road for sure. It should be safe. So we're good. We're good. And then, Zico, how's it going? How's your drive going so far?
Traffic is busy, but could be worse. And soon we'll be on a straightaway, highway, and think it'll go well.
Nice. We're going to spend most of our time, like I said, talking about that consolation match between France and England. But let's talk first about the game. What do you want to talk about first? The French against the Spanish, or do you want to talk about the English against Argentina?
How about we go Spain, France, because the other game I think is more talkable than Spain, France. How about we go Spain, France first?
Sure. Yeah, Spain, France. What did you think about that game? What surprised you about it? I would ask you that. What surprised you about that game, if anything?
I think I said on the last podcast, I think I said that what I really thought was going to happen is Spain was going to hold the ball more and that France would hit them on the counter, and that the two might be a perfect mismatch where France hit them on the counter. Truth is, France only got to counter a really decent, good counter 2 or 3 times and couldn't do anything with it. Spain played them into the ground. They did. They played them into the ground. And some French individuals it was the wrong time for not a great game, because Spain has gone from tie Cabo Verde 0-0, and everyone laughed about it and whatever, me included, to giving up 1 goal in 7 games and just being phenomenal, fantastic. And I am not a Spain fan at all, but you got to say phenomenal, fantastic. And the other thing you could say is they haven't had a real challenge. They played each other, France and Spain. There's your real challenge. And Spain were really comfortable. So that was impressive. Spain kept the ball so well that, like I said, France only had maybe 2 or 3 decent sort of turnovers for a counter. They played them so well. It was Spain. This is as good as I've ever seen a Spanish team. I think their keeper's poor. I said that a long time ago. I think he's poor. But, man, when the other team doesn't get chances, you're a good keeper. He's given up 1 goal in 7 games. People can say, that means he's good. No. When the other team doesn't get any chances, which they're not getting chances.
Yeah.
I hope Argentina doesn't get 4 or 5 shots on him, because he makes mistakes. But so that game, France were beaten down in that game pretty well, and I think it's great to see. Spain was great.
Yeah, it's interesting because Spain did adjust after that first match to where they started attacking wider and creating more opportunities outside instead of trying to force it up the middle against that first game against Cape Verde. Yeah. And so they did make adjustments there. It is amazing that they have only had 1 goal scored against them. And they're going against Argentina that's been much more inconsistent throughout the tournament, going down by 1, I think even 2 goals, and coming back and winning.
Yeah.
So, and England, okay, we'll keep talking about Spain, France. Yeah, they weren't able to manhandle Spain.
Correct.
Like, you thought that Mbappe would be able to kind of besides his skill and his speed and tactical awareness. He felt like he might be able to muscle his way through those guys, but man, they held them really well. And Spain's gotten better, arguably, as the tournament's gone on. They've gotten consistently better, starting with that horrible 0-0 tie.
Yep.
So I think that yeah, they're going to be. They got to be the favorite, I think, going into the finals. Even though it's hard to have a favorite going in the finals because our Argentina, they're defending champions, but we got the top two. How many times does that happen where the top two ranked teams make it in the finals?
Correct. And the funny thing is, Spain was so good that it's not a brilliantly talk-worthy game. That's what's amazing about it. Spain was so good that they took the questions out of the game. They beat France, and exciting game, awesome game to watch. But it was just like a job, right? It was just like, hold on, I'm about to be run off the road here. It was this. They made it yawning, if that makes sense. It's like they made what you would think, oh my gosh, it's a nail biter, seem boring.
It's methodical, like methodical.
Yeah, that's it.
I think that's the word you're looking for.
Methodical and comfortable. Yep, absolutely. And so it's funny to me, the England-Argentina, there's so much to talk about. But this game, and the French would say it, and Thierry Henry said it. He's like, you know what? They didn't play a good game. They were beat. They deserved to be beat. They were poor. Number of players didn't have their best performance. And he's right. It was that simple. And sometimes you lose a game and you're like, was it that they were that good or were we that bad? And that's exactly the right question. It was both that. Spain was that good. And France were that perhaps the daisical. Both are correct. In fact, it could have been 3 or 4-0. That's a fact. So was it us or was it them? It was both. They were that good and you were that bad. That's what I think.
No, I'm with you. And Spain, like I said, Spain learned its lesson, and we'll talk about the Spain-Argentina matchup, in a minute. But the Argentina-England game was pretty tense. Some people it was funny because I heard some of the commentators before the game poo-poo the rivalry between Argentina and England, the war not too many decades ago. That's previous generation. We don't think about that anymore. Some of the players, I think, or people close to the team said that. But when the game started, it was pretty physical from the start, if I remember right.
Oh yeah, and here's the thing though: if you plan to walk into a meeting and be a butthead, people are going to look around and people will all be in shock because you're planning to be a butthead. Argentina went into that game planning on being punks. That's just a fact. Planning on being punks. And they were, and it got under the English skin. And somehow still the English were able to take a 1-0 lead. The right thing to say is, oh, it's not that serious. It's not that major. It is. And even if you say it, like I think we maybe shared this, if you make somebody happy, they go and tell 2 people. If you make somebody mad, they go and tell 10. Argentinians are talking about it. They're still brewing about it. Again, we talked about the Falklands War, or as the Argentinians call it, Las Malvinas. And England, after giving up the Falklands or Las Malvinas, went back and retook it again 100 years later or whatever, and retook it again. And bottom line is England just went in there militarily, took the Falklands back after Argentina took it. So come on, man. There was a war just off the Argentinian coast. Don't tell me that. And if you watch, there's a great video of the 86 World Cup called Hero, just like it sounds, Hero, about Maradona. And you watch them, and as they're standing up for the lineup in the national anthem, you see it, and Maradona glances over to his left, where the English are, and you see his eyes, and he's chewing gum, and you just know it's whatever that, you and I talked about Westerns. It's like, who is it, a Clint Eastwood, and hell comes with it. Oh, England, you won the war, but I'm sorry, this battle, you're going to get your tail kicked by Maradona back in the day. And so that game to me was phenomenal. England and Argentina was phenomenal.
So, and it was anybody's game up until the last 20 minutes of the game. And it even favored England. Obviously, they're up. They go up 1-0 in the 55th minute. They got criticized for dropping back. But the truth is, they scored in the 55th minute. They scored a goal. They know that the danger they had seen of teams before them that had gone up against Argentina was maybe they kept playing them too loose, right? And they gave Argentina a chance. So the coach got a little conservative, dropped back, but and that
Absolutely.
worked. And that worked for a while. But then something turned, and I was watching the game while I was doing work, so I had it off to the side. And even after England scored, it seemed like Argentina wasn't really having a lot of chances. And then it was like just the whole tone changed. And England didn't even complete 2 passes for 19 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
And what's amazing to me is at the professional level, you see this happen. You see it happen in almost every professional sport. Why is momentum? Why does your mood, your tone, your mental state impact the game so drastically? You see it in college basketball, professional basketball, hockey. In college basketball, hey, they had a run, they were up 15 points, and the other team had a run, they were up 20 points. And that's kind of what happened in this game, where all of a sudden England couldn't be composed. Argentina could puff up its chest, and they were just peppering. And they weren't peppering the goal in a way that like Mexico did, where the only thing they could do for the last 30 minutes was cross the ball from the top of the box going in against England's bigger players, which you would have thought that Mexico might have scored when they had 30 minutes and all those chances. But they weren't the quality chances that Argentina was creating over and over again, in addition to dominating possession. And I'm just watching the game going, holy crap, Argentina has stepped up its game a bit, and England dropped a level.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just because the coach switched to defensive. It was they couldn't get to the ball first when it was cleared. They couldn't maintain possession of the ball. They just went from 2 class teams to getting outclassed is what it looked like. And then Messi did have the perfect cross in between the 2 defenders, who quite frankly weren't tight enough on the guy that Messi got the ball into. It's not tight enough to be a foot and a half in front of the guy and a foot and a half behind him. If I were running a soccer drill and crossing the ball and knocking it in, and I was going to build up to full contact defense, I'd be like, okay, now what I want you to do, defenders, whatever you do, don't touch Johnny when he's trying to head the ball in, but just stay in front of him a little bit and stay behind him a little bit, so he has to at least think about you. We'll do that before I allow you guys to sandwich him. And the English player just I don't think got caught off, but it was not good defending. They were there, but they weren't there. And then so that goal, I remember I was like, oh man, that kind of sealed the deals. So it was interesting to see Argentina dominate as a team, not just one player. And what about Messi that's amazing is, again, I worried that like what Pelé did in the 70s, where he scored I don't know how many thousands of goals, but he spent it in the NASL playing against guys who were bartenders on Sundays. And meanwhile, Pelé's getting paid $5 million a year to play. And so I always thought, yeah, he's losing a step playing at that level. And I worried that the same thing would happen to Messi. These are his winding down years. He's getting paid a lot of money. It's basically a retirement plan to come. If you're a professional player in Europe, it's your retirement plan to come to the U.S. and play the last 2 or 3 years, make a bunch of money. You're having kids by this time. Your kids go to good schools. You're in the safe neighborhood, right? You're all these things in a great country. But so I expected Messi to be not up to standard to play against English defenders and every other defender, right? Because they're all faster than the MLS. They're better than the MLS. But it's almost like he's been walking for a couple of years in the MLS, and that saved his energy. Now he's ready to explode and do whatever. He did that that's what I'm trying to say in the game. He had to have 3 guys on him, exploded in between him with the ball. They had to foul him. It was just Messi has been impressive, and he was impressive in that game. Certainly crossing the ball with his weaker foot on a dime Yeah, but you knew he had it in him. So I don't know. It was
Yeah.
hard to deny how great Argentina played. And Messi was a key part of the game, unlike Ronaldo throughout the tournament, I felt was holding on. And I always wondered if they could have had a better player out there than Ronaldo from the bench.
Yeah.
With Messi, there was no reason to take him off ever.
Yeah. Yeah. And so to me, Messi is one of these players, as is Luka Modric, who they don't need to run all the time, really, because they play their own game, their own style, their own pace. Everyone knows it, and it's immaculate. Andrea Pirlo did that just a few years back for Italy, and it's immaculate, if that makes sense. And the other thing is, South America's always done this a lot. Brazil played for Neymar back when Neymar was a player to maximize, hey, the rest of us will work our butt off and get you the ball. And so South America has always done this with number 10s or classic number 10s, whatever you want to call them, is we will do your workload. Let's say, forget the keeper, there's 10 of us. You are one of us. You will do no work defensively. We will all do 1.09 of the work, or if that makes sense, or 1.11 of the work, if that makes sense. We will each do just a little extra. And then when Messi demands the ball, he's going to get the ball. Now, Brazil did this in the 2002 World Cup, and their coach, Filippo Scolari, said this. He's like, I organized 8 players how to defend and fight for the ball. And then I left Rivaldo and Ronaldo free. They're going to win us the tournament. So think about this. Brazil had Ronaldinho Gaúcho defending. He was younger. He was defending. So what he said is this: I'll organize 10 and let those 2 guys win it. What Argentina did is we'll organize these 9 and we'll let him go and win it. Now, he actually hasn't scored, is this right, in the last 2 games, but he takes the free kicks, he hits them well. And if you take 12 corners, there's a good chance, you're going to get an assist. But he feels it out, because when he goes to take the corner, he can whip it in, or he can play it short, which he started doing, playing it short. So he feels the game well. Where I think that I will disagree a little bit on how it looks to me in that game is, I wish they showed the coaches some. Is like, guys, you cleared the ball 65 yards, and every guy jogged up about 8 steps. You cleared 65 yards, you got to get 30 yards up the field. And they gave away all the way to within 32, 35 yards of their goal.
Yeah.
You can't do that. So what I thought, Beth and I were watching it together, and what I thought, and I know a lot of the players, and I know, I understand that. And we know tactics, let's say. But what I thought, I don't know the English as well as I've known Brazil, but I know this squad pretty well, right? Is when it was getting defensive, I think that he should have taken out Morgan from midfield, moved John Stones from center back to midfield, because John Stones is a tall central defender who has played a lot of midfield. So I think they should have put a more defensive-minded guy who he's a center back who's played midfield instead of a midfielder playing midfield. So they should have taken Morgan out, put John Stones in midfield, another center back playing midfield, moved Harry Kane back into midfield because that's what he was doing. But so when they took Morgan out, put Stones in for Morgan, so you have a defender fighting in midfield, if that makes sense. And they brought on Dan Burns, a 6'7" central defender. Put him in the middle, 6'7". Put him in the middle, and so you would have extra center backs, but one who's playing the middle midfield also, and bring Kane back, who's a winner, Bellingham back, who's a winner, And actually, I think they should have also put on Marcus Rashford up front, and at that point taken off Bellingham. And the reason being is this: Marcus Rashford is a little faster than lightning, and when you win the ball, if you don't have anybody up the field, all you're doing is kicking it back to them, right? So if you're kicking it back to them, if you kick it 65 yards, sprint up 30 yards. But they were kicking it 65 yards out and running up literally 8 steps. Marcus Rashford would have been the fastest player on the field, yawningly, if that makes sense. So it's like, if you can't defend with 9, by the way, at this point, you would have had 4 center backs on the field. Tall. 4 tall center backs on the field, defending with 9 and a keeper. And you can't afford to have the fastest man on the field standing up front. He would have outrun any of the Argentinian defenders. Even if he was 5 yards behind them, he would have blown by them.
Yes.
So it's tough because when you have it, you know what it is? It's prevent defense. What does it do? It prevents you from winning. When you have it, your psychology changes, right? Let me tell you one more thing. The Golf Channel has this wonderful thing, playing lessons from the pros. And one of the most awesome playing lessons from the pros is Sir Nick Faldo, the great English golfer. And he said, listen, we're professional golfers. We're on the tour. We're the best in the world. He said, now I have to play this par 4. I can part every day, yawning. I can part every single time, except for one thing. Now I have to play this par 4, and if I par it, I get $2.6 million. If I don't par it, I get $800,000. And we would be like, I'll take 800,000, but not these guys who want to win. And he said, what changed about the par 4? Nothing. I changed. And so what changed about the game? It's 11 on 11, field's the same size, even air conditioned. Yeah, but we have a 1-0 lead. So what he said is if the course never changes, what changes is your mind. Isn't that amazing? And he said, that tree didn't move. That tree didn't grow 30 feet taller. There are extra leaves on that tree. That pond didn't grow, the pond off to the left. What happened is now you're under pressure.
Yeah.
And so he's like, all that's changed is you're now pooping your pants. You got to be able. And so he said, this is how we always combated it. And he made a joke of this, ready? And he's witty. The Sir Nick Faldo, he said, oh man, look at that lake over there to the left. And he's like, what lake? What lake? I said, he could block it out of his mind. What lake?
Yep.
He's looking positively. Ready? I am going to hit the ball at that tree, and maybe it's going to come 5 to 8 yards to the left of the tree, a little draw or whatever you want to call it, a fade, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to hit the ball at that tree. So he's aiming at a target, not don't hit the water. And that's, I think, what England did. They take a 1-0 lead, and instead of being like, in a way, proactive with their subs, they're just defend within 30 yards of the goal. And they could have been aggressive with their subs and still had the integrity of defending. They didn't defend like that the whole time. And then suddenly they have a 1-0 lead and they defend, don't hit the water. I know I rambled, but
Oh yeah, no, I know. It does make sense. You did ramble. I'm kidding. It's so funny. I actually edit out. I can edit out all the from this.
Correct,
And it
correct.
cuts our podcast down by half, so it's good. But all right, so yeah, it looks like France is gonna probably beat England, but who knows? I would imagine they would give their players that haven't played much some time to play in that game. Like,
Yeah.
I could think Harry Kane might want to be in the game. Maybe he can score a bunch of goals and win the, the goal scoring contest for the tournament. Does that happen typically in a third place match where they try to do that, where they try to pad their numbers and get there and win the goal scoring? Or what have we seen happen in the past there?
A couple guys have tried that before and wanted to do that before.
Right.
Correct. And I don't think it was the third place game, but I remember the great Stoichkov. He just won it. I think it was 94. just wanted to win. Once they're knocked out of the World Cup, that might have been the semifinal. I need to think way back in my mind. But yeah, they can do that. Here's the other thing. He's their captain. He's the highest scorer ever in English history, in the history of the English national team. And very doubtful he's going to be back for another World Cup. He's 34 or 5, I believe. Could even be 34. 34 or 5. And I'm not trying to be a jerk. He's got that English hard battle fight mentality, but he's brilliant. He's got that hard English fight mentality. Like Messi is not an old 38 or 39. Maybe he just turned 39 or is turning 39 like in maybe during the tournament. Like he might be 39 now.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't put a lot of hard miles on his legs. So many people, especially in the Western English-speaking world, it sounds, oh, you mean he's not a hard worker? He's not. No, he's a brilliant worker. I told somebody this the other day. I don't know if you noticed this. Listen, I'm not a Messi fan because he's Argentinian. But you got to turn around and say, if you coach, I coach. I say, guys, watch Messi. I mean, come on. If I was to say the guy's not absolutely brilliant, it'd be a stupid podcast. It'd be fake. Brilliant. But watch Messi. It blows my mind. Now, of course, the camera's on him more than anybody else. But when they just missed, he just missed a shot. When they miss an opportunity, when they show Messi, I'm not lying. He does it more than anybody. Do you know what he does? Have you seen this? Picture it in your mind's eye. You see him watching the big screen, the Jumbotron. He is looking up, and I believe he's studying what just happened. Watch Messi. He does it more than anybody. And not only, oh, let me see my goal. I bent it in. When they miss a chance, you watch Messi right after the chance, and he's like this. He's looking up at the Jumbotron. I don't know how my look is coming up on the screen, but
I know
like
that
this.
makes sense. Yeah, yeah.
And you know why? Because would you rather have the fastest brain or the hardest working legs? I'll take the fastest brain any day. And I'll tell you, my parents, my knee doesn't work. I'm depressed about my knee. What would you rather lose? Some of your athleticism and be a lot slower and not be able to sprint, or your mind?
Yeah.
Messi's got the best part. It's your mind. It's your mind.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. And he's kind of, Messi's kind of like a Tom Brady versus a Mahomes.
Correct.
And if Mahomes is going to last longer in the NFL, he's going to have to play more like Tom Brady, because you can't be running around exposing yourselves to all that potential to get hurt. And Valderrama was another one of my favorite players too, that back in the day, who had a longer career, because guess what?
Yes.
You only needed, if you're a defender,
one touch.
Yes, I'm going to not get to Valderrama, and that's my job, because his one touch, it's like he had eyes in the back of his head. He'd receive a pass from a defender 30 yards away, and then he would flick it on in the perfect weighted pass with his head, his foot, his whatever. Messi did a nice chest pass in the last game, by the way, and the box that could have created a goal scoring opportunity. That almost did.
Correct.
But yeah, he has eyes in the back. He just needs that one touch to make the pass in the timed pass that no one else can make. So when I look at, let's talk about so now we're looking at Spain, Argentina. Now I'm looking at some key lineups here. Again, yeah, I can't remember who's favored, but I think Argentina might be favored slightly in the game. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check. But
I don't see how, man. I mean, I've said negative against Argentina. I'm not trying to be negative, but you know what? They could have or should have lost multiple times. So absolute credit. It's like, dude, how'd they survive? They're like Rocky. It's like that Rocky movie. I just saw his opponent hit him 146 punches in a row to the face.
Yep.
But he gets up and one flurry and knocks the guy down. Yeah. And it's like, and Spain, though, Spain's just cruised and they've gotten better. Spain's hardest game was methodical and yawningly dominant over France. Yeah. Well, you talk about peaking, and if that makes sense. So
no, so let's talk about it. So let's look at some matchups. Some of the matchups I'm seeing in the game.
One last thing. If anybody watches that last game, let's go back to this real quickly. Only one sentence. I meant to say this earlier. When Argentina and were attacking against England, what Beth and I talked about, though, is how do they have 3 center backs on the field, but they were never denying the cross? So they played with 5 in the back, and so when Argentina played the ball to the wide player, if you play with 5 in the back, the right or left back have to be able to press the ball. They
Yeah,
had
in
4
fact,
other guys, and that blew my mind. Oh,
yeah,
Argentina were crossing the ball, but England had 5 in the back.
no,
3 center backs. I was blown away.
you're absolutely right. In fact, that's why they held on against Mexico, because Mexico could not penetrate deep in the wings. They kept having to back out to 18 and cross it.
100%.
And to be fair, even when Messi made that cross, he had 2 men on him, but they
Yep.
weren't tight on him. They were
Yep.
terrified of him. They
Yep.
were, and not only that, I think he tricked them because they're worried. Oh, we don't want him to go to his left and knock the ball in and bend it in the far post. So what does Messi do? He goes to his right. And you're just thinking he's going to do like Pulisic, who's playing on the left side, always goes to his right more than his left. Messi, when he's on the right side, goes to his left more than he goes to his right a lot of times. And so that was like the almost
reverse
a trick play.
wingers.
Yeah, and so you're absolutely right. England had been good at and in fact, I thought I was surprised because they did a good job. They had 2 guys out there on Messi, but they weren't tight enough. So Spain is favored, which totally makes sense. They're a bit younger. They're gonna have these younger guys on Messi, who Messi's gonna bore them to death until they finally ignore them, and then they'll knock the ball into Messi.
Exactly.
But they're gonna try and prevent him from receiving the ball. But the problem is he's surrounded by a lot of great players, and if the worst thing that Messi does is draw 2 or 3 players towards him and open up things for other guys, that's still going to help. But I'm looking here at, it looks like Spain has done a good job of attacking the wings, except for that first game. And does Argentina have a matchup on the outside defensively to stop that from happening? How do you think that Argentina's defenders match up against Spain's attackers?
The funny thing is, Argentina does, of course, but Messi probes the other team so much, and Spain probes the other team so much, if that makes sense. Like, Argentina obviously has the potential of winning ugly. In Argentina, they brought in Lautaro Martinez, and he's the one who scored the header, right? He was the starting striker in the last World Cup. Alvarez has started a lot more this World Cup. But then now he was on the bench. He came off the bench and he scores a header off of a Messi right-footed cross, which you don't see a whole lot of, if that makes sense. The other thing is, there is an old 29 and a younger 29, right? And you brought up the point that Argentina are 29. That can be quote unquote an old 29, some of them, right? But Spain can bring in Nico Williams, and so they have Yamal on one side, and they could have Nico Williams on the other side, and that's pure speed. I think that Spain's a well-oiled machine, man, who they're like, forgive me, to quote Bruce Lee, right? Be like water. I think we talked about that 6-7 podcasts back. They will find the little hole where water can seep in. That's what Spain's done. Now, the big thing is this. You want them to not find it for the first 90 minutes. Right? That's a long time. Messi finds the little gap, and when they had some success or it utterly didn't fail, he'll look up and read what's going on up in the Jumbotron, if that makes sense. I think that Spain has such a good ability moving the ball. And this coach has made Spain not tiki-taka, whatever, but get forward much better. Danny Olmo is a player I've never been a big fan of, but he's doing some good stuff right now. I think that Spain, they're not going to make you fall asleep. They can move the ball forward. And if they bring in Nico Williams, they can outspeed you and trick you on the right and the left. And I think you'll start seeing Alessandro Martinez. I don't think he's good out wide if he's got to be drug out wide. And neither is Romero if they get drugged out wide. Tagliafico, great experience outside back, but I would say some of their age are actually in the back. That's the problem. Their age is in the back and Messi. That's their age, right?
Yeah.
And I thought England was going to win, but I wouldn't have bet anything on it, really. And, man, I think Spain's going to win. They fill you out as a team. Messi fills you out as an individual. The team has guts. You got to give that to Argentina.
Yeah,
Guts,
and
man.
it's interesting because Messi is arguably more of a Spanish player than an Argentinian player because he grew up in Barcelona from a really young age, and his ties, his style, and everything. In fact, for a while there, it felt like that was one of the problems is he couldn't integrate with the Argentinian national team. He'd have been better off naturalizing and figuring out how to play for Spain at one point.
Yeah.
But I think what's going to be interesting is against England, even though they technically played a 4-4-2, it looked like a 4-5-1 because Messi was staying deep and the other forward was dropping back in the midfield. Spain's got a really strong core midfield, one or two players in there. And Argentina, are they going to match up well against them? That'll be a question. And then if Spain's forwards are quick and young, you got a little bit of aging defense on Argentina. That's where we're going to see. I think they're maybe more evenly matched in the midfield. And then you got Messi up front. But Argentina's defense may struggle trying to defend against the Spanish attackers. It kind of sounds like what we're saying. But no, I think it's gonna be exciting. I think there's a cute storyline where Messi changed the diapers of one of the players he's playing against not changed diapers, held the player when he was a baby because he probably went to the same school that Messi did in Spain. He went to that soccer academy in Barcelona growing up, and then there's a young player on the Spanish team that Messi held him when he was a baby.
At Barcelona, they call it La Masia. Yeah. And the player you could be talking about, I don't know if it's Pedri, but could be Gavi. That could be the player. And so they do have a couple. Yeah. I do know this. Argentina, if you watch them against England, they'll try to throw you off your game because they're going to come in and be physical, and sorry, I don't mean to be mean, but it's just a fact. Do some cheap stuff, to be honest. Yeah. But if you remember, Spain's only World Cup win ever, 2010, they played against the Netherlands. We're so talented, but the Netherlands played an ugly, cheap game. And that sounds like I'm being mean. No, it's a fact. The Netherlands have beautiful style and talent, but in that game, they were very cheap against Spain, and Spain finally got the win in added time 1-0. That said, that Spanish team at times they won the World Cup, but they over tiki-taka. Right now, this manager has gotten Spain to work the ball but get it up the field. Work the ball but get it up the field. Argentina's gonna, I don't know what's the better word to say. It's the best I can do. Do some cheap little late hits and bumps and everything else.
They're gonna employ the dark arts. That's what Argentina is gonna do. Is they're gonna employ the dark arts. And it was Yamal is the kid when he was a baby. His parents won a contest and got to meet with Messi, and so Messi held him. Apparently, didn't change his diaper, but actually helped give him a bath.
That's funny. That's funny.
All right,
that's funny.
So it'll be that you got this tournament you're doing down in Pueblo. It's a small tournament, a lot of fun down there with the Pueblo Rangers. And then next week we have our World Finals in Vail, Colorado, which is going to be amazing. Hope you travel safely down there. And it's going to be, I'm excited to watch the match on Sunday. A couple of years ago, the last time Argentina, 2 finals ago, when Argentina was in the finals, I was on my way back from Aberdeen, South Dakota, and stopped in Plattsville, Nebraska, in the middle of nowhere, and this bar in Plattsville. And they had one side of the bar was busy. The other side of the bar was almost closed down, but that's where their big screen projection TV was. And I went over there and said, "Hey, can you turn on the World Cup final match?" And watch in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska. And one other guy and his son showed up. And we all just the 4 of us just watched the game in the middle of nowhere. But this time, I think it's going to be on every TV across the country. Everybody's catching the World Cup fever. And we had the Final Four and the Final Four. We got the Final Two and the Final Two. It's sometimes things go as planned. But so if Spain win the turn, if Argentina wins, then that'll wait. Was France ranked number 3 or were they? Because it was Argentina 1, France 2, and Spain 3, or was Spain ranked?
They change it all the time, and the rankings they change it all the time. And last I knew, Argentina was ranked 4 going into the World Cup, I think. But what I've heard is Argentina's ranked, is what I've heard. But the truth is, everyone who was talking, doing their podcast, Spain and France were 1-2 or 2-1, but it
Yeah.
was those two.
Yes.
And England was 4, Spain, Argentina were 4, but I'm hearing Argentina's
No,
number
no.
one.
Actually, I pulled it up on Chat GPT. Argentina was, before the World Cup began, Argentina was 1, Spain was 2, 3 was, as of June 11th, it was Argentina, Spain, France, England. So if Argentina wins and France gets third, then I don't know. That'll be interesting. But all right, man, we'll, like I said, drive safe down there. And I know you're not. It's funny. I thought that you might be rooting for Argentina because your South American, Brazilian ties, but that's like asking a Denver Broncos fan to root for the Chiefs in the Super Bowl because they're in the same division during the season. Most of my Denver Broncos fans hate Mahomes, hate the Chiefs, just a little bit less than they hate the Raiders, right? And so, whereas if Mexico were in the World Cup final, or Canada for that matter, and nobody hates Canada, but I would probably still root for Mexico, even though I consider them the USA rival. And so I would have wanted that because it would have raised CONCACAF in the eyes of the world and whatnot. But South America doesn't need anybody lifting them up right now. Although, to be fair, Zico, they're the only South American team left in the Final Four. And it's been a tournament dominated in the Final 8 by Europe. So at some point, you gotta maybe root for your home continent.
Well, okay, here's the problem. And a lot of people don't know this, but here's the frustration. Is there's going to be a lot of people mad, but it doesn't matter, guys. Just be truthful. Argentina, when it's come to soccer, has been Brazil's little brother. And now Brazil is, the last 4 years, has been atrocious. The last 4 years.
For the last 4 tournaments, last 4 World Cup finals.
No, the last 4 years.
Oh, okay.
Now, they have choked the last 4 tournaments, but been very good, if that makes sense. Like, as in, you know what? If we come head to head, I favor us over Argentina. Now, can't say that. Last 4 years, absolute nightmare. The truth is, Brazil has choked, but you got to say, you know what? Brazil is, quote unquote, the better team. They lost. You got to make your chances. You got to make it happen, right? Like, here's an example. In this qualification format, 2006, 2010, 2014, 2018, 2022, Brazil's won South America's qualification every year, and Argentina hasn't been close to them really, ever.
Yeah.
These last 4 years, Argentina is number one. This qualifier for 2026, Argentina was number one, and Brazil finished 5th. Brazil's only finished 1st. Brazil finished 5th this 4-year cycle, if that makes sense. But the thing is, there's the chirping, but the truth is, they've always been Brazil's little brother, like it or not. But right now, they're not. They're on a high.
Yep.
We went through 4 coaches in the last 4 years. You can't do that.
No.
You can't do that. And Argentina's had Scaloni for 8 years or 9 years. When you have a manager there, and this is a compliment though, when you have a manager who's being successful and he's in there 8 or 9 years, you have stability. And something Scaloni knows, and he knows exactly who to put in, when, where, whatever. He knows his team. Total compliment.
Yeah.
So I have gone for Argentina before, but let me tell you one thing. If you give Argentina, their national team, mercy, when they're playing you, at no point will they ever give you mercy. At no point.
Yep.
The truth. Just the truth.
Nice
so I've gone for Argentina to win. But now, if Argentina doesn't win, I will not talk trash. A lot of people say I'm talking trash. No, I'm just being honest. I'm not talking trash. If you want trash, we can do a podcast on history of the team. But no, I just don't want them to win. Yeah. Normally, I would go for a South American team every time. I am not a fan of European, because at some point, European teams need to quit naturalizing players and need to quit naturalizing South Americans. Here's a compliment to Argentina. In 1934, when Italy won the World Cup, which they called Mussolini's World Cup. Italy had 6 of their 11 players were born in Argentina.
Right.
They were Italian, but they were Italians born in Argentina. So they actually went to South America to bring these guys in to play for them. At some point, Europe has to not naturalize South Americans. So
Yep.
I'm not a fan of European national teams. And where I've gone for Argentina before, I'm done with it. Can't. So
Yep.
if Argentina lose, would I talk smack? Never in a trillion years.
Right.
Will I talk smack? Never in a trillion years. Because the problem is when somebody who's not involved in the game chirps from the outside, they're a punk. So I would not chirp from the outside. My team got our butts kicked. We're the worst we've been since the 1966 World Cup.
Yeah.
What can I say? I can't say anything. I got to sit here and shut up with my hands in my lap. Anyway, thanks for saying goodbye and making me mad.
Yeah. You're rooting for Spain. I'm probably going to root for Argentina. And I don't have skin in the game. Although I will say 2 of my grandkids are half Argentinian. And one of my grandkids is half Mexican and Greek, a quarter Greek. And so there's a Spanish, and both those countries are Spanish speaking, Argentina, Mexico, Spain.
Absolutely.
So I always try to look for a connection. Yeah, like 2 of my daughters, their mom's family is Italian. So I would root for the Italian sometimes. I'm always looking for what's that connection. So I probably I'm kind of rooting for Argentina, but we'll see, man. It'll be good. All right. Cheers. You have a good one. Enjoy the tournament, and we'll get this live, and we'll be talking soon, buddy.
See you, man. Bye, bro.
All right.